viewers are sure, because like Dr. Said said, if it's between us, he doesn't believe us.
Okay.
Just Google it.
All right.
And read the relevant portion.
Okay.
Essential.
Because let me just clarify.
wait.
Now listen.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah, we need to settle
assuming
that. Yeah.
Assuming that the minister is out of office, what will censure do to him? So read the sections.
Which section? Which section of the fiscal responsibility?
Go to the content. Go to the content.
You now proceed. I'll look for it.
Go to content timeline.
I'll look for it. Yeah, go ahead.
You see, every budget is projections. And the projections are based on a historical analysis. In setting it up, the historical analysis depends on data. Now, a very serious argument has been made here that the data is cooked. And the word cooked was used. The beautiful thing about what we do with the data and what we read in Parliament is that it's all on record. It's in a book, which he's showing us. And what was read in Parliament is on the Hansard. It is not just for the benefit of us sitting in this studio. There are international people. Decisions are taken on what has been read and said and what is being printed. And therefore, there is very little room for the kind of language that is being used here, cooked and criminal and all that. There are third-party assessors who are very, very serious about these matters, because major decisions are taken on those matters. So for the record, I want to place it here, that data is not within the purview of the finance minister. Finance minister cannot come and tell us Anansi stories and walk away. It's a matter of record for third-party people who engage, including academics, business people who have to take decisions, as well as the international community who are our partners. So data matters as yours. Indeed, I want to avoid politicization because he's afraid of politicians. But the only government on record in this country to have paid a penalty for data manipulation is the NDC. The NDC cost us $38 million in data manipulation.
Which one is that?
You have forgotten. You have forgotten.
Which
The
one is that?
Kufuor government had to pay $38 million because the NDC manipulated figures, and the IMF found them out. The IMF found them out. It is on record. But let's move beyond that. So what I'm saying there is that data manipulation, words like cooked, criminal, they are not ordinary funny things you say to buttress a political argument. They are factual things that third parties depend on. Having said that, what budget do we have here? A budget that tells its own story. It is consolidating gains made. And those gains are for growth, they are for jobs, and they are for prosperity for all. That is exactly what this budget delivers and promises to deliver going forward. And let's look at some of the indices for these three things the budget is saying. First of all, the IMF test. It feeds into the data situation. This is an economy that we are being told went to sleep in 2017 and grew.
Government slept, not the economy.
Who was asleep?
Government slept.
Exactly. Economies don't stop at once because a regime left.
Yeah, exactly.
The indices, the workings of the economy are ongoing. It is the management of it which changes. And consistently, the NPP have been better managers of this economy.
The point he was making was that within the period you had come into office, for 2017 more particularly, you didn't do anything to add to the growth that was experienced. You simply inherited it.
Managing the resources, the economy we inherited in order to realign it and get back on track.
So his suggestion is that, for example, when he takes a Greg, he's saying, and the manufacturing sector, he's saying that for the period that you had not, as it were, taken control, there was good growth. But suddenly, when you were beginning to take over, then there's negative growth for the banking sector, declining, negative for banking sector, declining growth for the agric, and then growth for manufacturing.
We couldn't have taken charge. The IMF was there. We inherited an economy which had the IMF feeding us intravenously. By 2016, the IMF was insisting that in spite of their therapy, the economy was going down. The mid-year review of 2017 is very, very clear. Again, you can't dispute the IMF. the IMF is the NDC's favorite big brother. The IMF ran this economy for the NDC in Ghana for several years, particularly the intervening years where we drifted from the revolution into liberal democracy. The IMF ran this economy for them, and the World Bank. They believe in them. In 2014, when the banking sector had collapsed, they were told by the World Bank and the IMF, work on it. They ran to them and said, give us the solutions. From that time up to 2016, the IMF told the whole world that the economy was not improving. So, by 2017, the IMF story had changed. What was the difference? The difference was that there was a new government in charge. The difference was that management of the economy had changed. And what I'm trying to say is that you don't need to have invested your own money that you found before the economy changes. What you came to meet is a running economy, except that it was running negatively. So you can turn it around. You can turn it around. And we did that immediately to the extent that the IMF endorsed what we were doing, and by April 2019, they had enough confidence in our management to leave us. So that's the first step. 2, this budget is made in the context of a post-IMF situation. So it has a test for us. We are not about to fail the test in election year and go back to the IMF post-election. That means
that's good news.
That means, yes, it's a budget.
You can keep that.
Oh, of course we will.
Of
course we will.
That's good.
It is a budget that is tightly constrained in its expectations and in its projections. That is why it begins by consolidating the gains. You consolidate because you don't want to mismanage where you are and fail the tests. So we are moving beyond the election boom and bust. We are not going to spend money by heart, like some spent 600 million in 2012 and managed to collapse the economy by 2014. We had to go to the IMF. We are not going to do that. We are going to spend within our limitations, which means within the revenue envelope that we are able to generate, as well as with our foreign partners. We are going to do that. Now, even more interesting is that we have been bold enough to pass a Fiscal Responsibility Act. And we are saying that in this election year, that is a major test of our financial management capacity. As a government, we have put in law that we are not going to spend beyond 5% of the deficit. And the finance minister has referred to that in the budget, and we intend to keep to that. All data, all figures.
He's suggesting that there's a backdoor attempt to reduce the expenditure so that you don't hit the
Adam Smith.
The punishable
Adam
level.
Smith.
They have already crossed
You see,
5%.
Adam Smith makes very wild allegations.
Baumia is not here.
You are the one who said
Baumia is the only Adam Smith in Ghana.
I am now replacing it to you, Adam Smith.
Well, I know you miss him here.
I know who Adam Smith. You see, when he says those things and throws those words about, that's why I began by talking about data certainty. He has a responsibility to demonstrate those figures and demonstrate them accurately. The last time they threatened that, let me just go back. Before the budget reading, they had a pre-budget press conference where they made all sorts of allegations. None of those things happened in the budget.
What did we say?
Then they threatened that post-budget, they were going to come out with the real state of the economy. What has happened? We are looking at mini press conferences on roads and health, ambulance distribution and all that. They haven't been able to come out with anything negative.
Yes, but the ambulance distribution.
Let me not get diverted.
That sounds some way.
Let me not get diverted. Let me not get diverted. Let me focus
on. We
on.
have 305 ambulances, according to the minister, that we have been able to bring in, and we have how many of them sitting at the Parliament House?
We'll put trackers in them and distribute them.
And you are waiting when to distribute.
We'll put trackers in them.
They can be put to use now.
Let's take focus on
the argument is that you are seeking for political gain, capital, to distribute them during the elections.
I'm a lawyer economist, so I was flying on
on the law side.
I was flying on the economy. I'm just about taking cruises. and taking me back to ambulances.
You brought ambulances.
Let me focus on cruising speed, then I can come back to ambulances. I beg you.
Okay.
So, the Fiscal Responsibility Act is real, and we are committed to it. Very critically, the finance minister says we are going to pay for the election. So is it within the constraints of our revenue? Is it based on imaginative arrangements with our partners? Is it something that is going to deal with the deficit and move it beyond 5%? That's a very important argument for me, because election expenditure is massive. So you should be interrogating how we pay for the election and stay balanced, because we are running a balanced budget. For me, that's very significant.
Balanced budget.
In spite of all this, in spite of all that,
mention balanced budget.
Please, I said
I want to be sure.
maintain our balance. I didn't talk about
Okay,
balanced budget. We are not in the American Senate. I'm talking about how we maintain our balance. Now, in spite of all this, something, we are meeting our ongoing obligations to our flagships. That's where we have put 12.2 billion in our pockets. We are meeting all our obligations to our flagships. We are meeting the obligation to educate people, and Dr. Said, without education, we lose on mines and mineral resources.
There's already education going on.
It's not sufficient. It's not sufficient. So we are investing in education. We are investing in debt management. Because we are investing in debt management, we've managed to stabilize our debt profile and brought it below the danger levels. We are investing in stabilizing the financial sector. Without a working financial sector, you cannot move this economy forward. So we have invested serious money in the financial sector. We are investing in 1D, 1F, and it's paying off already. 1D, 1F has produced over 10,000 direct jobs and a little over 43,000 indirect jobs. Already, over 10,000 direct jobs. And our biggest problem is jobs. Everybody knows that. We are investing further in jobs. We have created NAPCO. We have paid, we have absorbed nurses who are at home. We are investing in farmers, subsidies in planting for food and jobs, what do you call it? Teacher training and nursing training allowances. We are investing in all these things, which we promise to do, not because they are populist, but because they go to elevate the lifestyle of the population. They go to meet a need.
Yeah.
There's a need for employment in this
there's something
country.
that's come up briefly, and you also mentioned the ambulance thing. So if you can speak briefly about that, because people are concerned about it, that you have ambulances sitting there,
Yes.
and the claim is that there's some tracker that has to be fixed, and it cannot be fixed until whenever. And the ambulances have been sitting there for how long now? And it does appear strategically, you're waiting. Then we take over, we get into elections, and then you present them in a way that will gain votes. What do you say about that? But on the issue of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, Isaac, I think you are wrong. The provision is that, I think this is in section 4? It says that Parliament may, in accordance with Article 82 of the Constitution, pass a vote of censure on the minister where the minister breaches Section 2 by more than 1 percentage point. 1 percentage point. So it is a censure and not a criminal punishment. All right, thank you very much. Yes, so...
something. The Minister for Special Development Initiatives has spoken. The Minister of Health has spoken.
They say what?
The fundament, they talked about trackers, bringing all the equipment in and trackers. My information, as I sit here this morning, was that there were several still to be cleared, and there were a few more on the high seas, and that would be important to assemble them together and put in the trackers. But assuming, without admitting, that they are not going to be distributed before the election, this is an important social intervention that has been taken responsibly. We had a situation where the same attempt ended up in tin cans with engines being brought into the country and paid for. Tin cans with engines being brought into the country and paid for. We were not able to distribute them. We were not even able to conclude the entire importation. These are solid machines that will end up with the people irrespective of the time and end up properly with the appropriate technology to track their use. So for the people of Ghana, the important thing is that have we met a social need? And that social need is that, yes, we have brought in an ambulance.
Yes, we are all happy about that.
Exactly.
That's why we want them distributed, because people are dying, lives are being lost because of absence of ambulances.
Mea culpa, we are going to distribute them. Mea culpa, we are going to distribute them. Now, let's go back to the economy. Fundamentals. Is it true that inflation is at 7.6%, the lowest in 27 years? Is it true? Is it true that the treasury bill rate has fallen to 14.7%, and that because of that, the likelihood of dragging down lending rates is high? As we speak, personal lending rates have dropped from 33% to hover between 20 to 24%. Is it true? Is it true that economic growth is strongly positioned and that we are hovering between 6 to 6.7%? And that if our sectoral growth rates were negative, we wouldn't be recording 7% overall growth? Is it true? Is it true that at this point in time, our fiscal deficit is only 4.5%? So, if these things are true, that means our macro framework is very sound.
Okay, I take it.